In a car accident, I became a vegetable while trying to protect my wife. She brought me home and took good care of me. A year later, I finally regained some consciousness and could hear sounds from outside. But I noticed my wife's care became less and less considerate, and she grew closer with the neighbor's younger brother. They openly expressed their feelings and shared their intimacy right in front of me. Even my son hit me with his toy. Bad dad, stupid dad. I don't want a zombie dad. I want Eric to be my dad. My wife broke down and asked, "Why didn't you die in that car accident?" I tried desperately to stay alive, but I never imagined she wished I had died from the start. When I finally woke up, I said to her, "As you wish, let's get a divorce." The blanket was pulled away, and a bucket of cold water was thrown under me. I wanted to shiver from the shock, but my lifeless body didn't react at all. Eric laughed happily. "Bob, you look so funny like this." He seemed to inspect me for a while before turning away. Not long after, I heard familiar footsteps. It was my wife, Fiona. She silently placed a bowl of food on the table and leaned over to help me sit up. But when she felt the dampness behind me, her hand froze. She was stunned for a while, and I could feel her hand clenching. Then, my son Jimmy came running, but retreated a few steps immediately. "Stinky Dad wet the bed again. Dad is so annoying." Eric's voice came from the door. "Jimmy, come over here. It's dirty there." Jimmy ran off again, saying in his childlike voice, "I don't want this smelly dad. I want Uncle to be my dad. Dad, take me to buy toys." "Sure, anything Jimmy wants." Eric's cheerful laughter faded as he walked away. The room went quiet again. Fiona finally moved, put me back down and changed my diaper, wiped me clean, then replaced the wet blanket. After finishing, she didn't leave immediately but sat by the bed. "Bob," she said tiredly, "I'm done with this. I'm sick of changing your diapers every day, washing, feeding, applying ointments. Do you know how nice the weather was today? I used to love outdoor activities, and I never liked staying cooped up inside. It's been 3 years, Bob. For 3 years, I've only had this small view from this window to look at. I can't travel. I can't do anything. You've trapped yourself and trapped me here as well." With a final sigh, she left. The room became silent again. My breathing was faint, almost inaudible, making the room seem even eerily quieter. She used to play music for me. She knew I liked soft music and would collect vinyl records from everywhere. Then she'd sit by my bed, humming along, holding my hand. Now, I'm left counting every second of my life in this dead silence. I don't know how long it took, but the door opened again, and Jimmy came bouncing to my bedside, humming a cheerful song. "This is what Eric bought for me." He hit my face hard with a toy. Eric also said he'd take me on an airship. The impact hurt. The arrow from the robot's hand scratched my face. But Jimmy was focused only on sharing his joy. He struggled to tiptoe and whispered in my ear, "Dad, why don't you just die? Then Mom and Uncle can be together." Eric called from the door for him to have cake. Like a joyful little bird, Jimmy flew away. Cruel childhood innocence hurts more than adult hypocrisy. I suddenly remembered how he looked when he was born, tiny and wrinkled like a bundle. Fiona glanced at him, then turned away dismissively. "That's not our baby. He looks like a little mouse. Bob, let's have another one." I smiled through tears, gently holding her hand and the baby's together. "I wouldn't want you to go through that again. Babies always look like this at first." She turned back to take a closer look, and suddenly he kicked her with his tiny foot. She sulked, feeling wronged. "See, he doesn't like me either." I laughed and hugged them both, filled with indescribable happiness and fulfillment. "When he grows up, I'll help you spank him." Daring to kick Mom, naughty boy. We named him Jimmy. Together, we changed his clothes, fed him, and whenever she couldn't sleep, I'd soothe them both with one hand each. Back then, she would even compete for attention, never letting me dot on the baby more. On Jimmy's first birthday, we took a family photo. Jimmy looked like a little quail, round and cuddly. The photographer thought it was too cute and used our picture as a sample. We agreed to get another photo taken when he turned 2 for free, but we never made it to his second birthday. When Jimmy was 1.5, Fiona and I were in a car accident. Trying to protect her, I ended up with a traumatic head injury and became a vegetable. Now it's been 3 years. I understand Fiona and Jimmy, having to stay with someone who's a shell of a person for 3 years. Anyone would give up. I can only wait quietly, for either my awakening or for death. At night, Fiona came to feed and clean me. She must have seen the wound on my face, but she chose to ignore it. After a quick cleanup, she stood by my bed for a moment. Actually, I regained consciousness after being bedridden for a year. I could hear the sounds from the outside world. The first thing I heard when I became aware was Fiona saying, "Bob, I changed the pipes by myself today. It's not as hard as it seemed. If you don't wake up soon, you won't be my hero anymore." She liked sitting by my bed, talking to me even though I couldn't respond. She enjoyed it, but gradually, she had less to talk about, and her time with me grew shorter. Meanwhile, another person started appearing more frequently. Eric first came over when I'd been bedridden for a year and a half. Fiona introduced him to me. "Bob, this is Eric, the guy I told you about, my neighbor's little brother. He's back in the country now." "I know him. He's Fiona's neighbor and childhood friend. He went abroad to study later. I used to hear his name a lot when Fiona and I started dating, but I never met him. Yet I knew she had a close bond with him. They often chatted. Eric has a nice voice like a cool young guy. After that, Eric started coming over more often. They'd sit and chat by my bed, talking about their childhood and his life abroad. Eric is great at making people laugh. Fiona would often giggle at his jokes and collapse onto me, saying, "Bob, look at him." She'd laugh lying on me, making my body tremble too. Even though my heart felt so heavy, I wanted to reach out and touch her, or say, "Fiona, you're getting too close to him." It hurts me, but I couldn't. I just lay there like a mascot, listening to the woman I love having a great time with another guy. Then Fiona started coming less and less. Even if she did come, it was just to help me get cleaned up. In my second year bedridden, Fiona hired a caregiver, following Eric's suggestion. The caregiver acted all nice when they were around, but she'd just sit and eat when alone with me, completely ignoring me. By the time Fiona came home at night, she'd half-heartedly feed me. To fake her workload, she'd spill water on me to say I wet the bed again, or scatter food around to say I was picky. Whenever that happened, Fiona would sigh and come over. "Bob, could you just listen? I'm really tired. I have to work and take care of Jimmy every day. I don't have time to be here." In her eyes, I had become a stubborn child, refusing to behave. With Fiona backing her up, the caregiver grew bolder. She wouldn't even change my diaper until right before Fiona came home. A month in, I got bed sores on my back, and that's when the truth came out. Fiona fired her after that. She stood at my bedside for a long time, and I thought she was feeling bad for me. But after a while, she said, "Bob, what am I supposed to do? Are you going to trap me like this forever?" At that moment, guilt, shame, confusion, disappointment, and despair hit me all at once. I wished my fingers could move so I could strangle myself. I had become her burden, a tied-down weight she couldn't let go. The phone rang, pulling me out of my thoughts. Fiona picked it up. She never hid what she was saying from me. I overheard them inviting Fiona to a birthday party. She hesitated, and then laughter burst from the other end. Amidst the chatter, someone joked, "Why not just bring over your little plant? Can lie here as well as anywhere else." So that's what they called me behind closed doors. Fiona didn't say anything to defend me. Then someone else suggested, "Isn't Eric's birthday tomorrow? Fiona, you should join us. You and Eric are so close." "Yeah, didn't you get him a gift?" Fiona hesitated for what felt like an eternity to me. She'd never left me overnight alone before. She must know how dangerous that could be for someone in my condition. Yet she agreed. Okay. She hung up and stood silently by my bed, probably wanting to explain herself, but said nothing. Instead, she patted my cushions with 4 layers, then left. After laying there for 3 years, I had wasted away to skin and bones, and those cushions were painfully uncomfortable. But I understood that I should just be quiet and not cause trouble like a real plant. I don't know how much time passed, but it felt like it should have been morning. Suddenly, there was the sound of chaotic footsteps in the hallway, and my room door slammed open. Fiona, reeking of alcohol, collapsed onto me. The pain of that moment was breath-stealing. As my mind cleared, I realized her hand was clutching the collar of my pajamas so tightly, it felt like she might choke me. Ha ha ha, you're sleeping so soundly. 3 years, and you're not done sleeping yet. Her yelling pounded in my ears as her nails dug into my skin. I wished I could react, show her I was awake now, tell her not to cry, that we could go back to how things once were. But I couldn't do anything. I was just a lifeless block of wood. She staggered off, half laughing and half crying. 3 years ago, everyone envied me, said I was so lucky to have married you, you being so considerate and gentle, that no other man in the world could measure up. But now they all laugh at me. They call you the little plant, asking if you ever respond, daring me to touch you and maybe you'll wake up. They're making us their joke, Bob. She cried into her hands, her voice muffled, tearing at my heart. Felt like all my nerves were buzzing and shaking. I screamed at myself to wake up. Don't just lie there watching your love fall apart right in front of you. Fiona seemed to fall to the floor, her voice rising and falling. Today, someone drunk at a nearby table harassed us. If it wasn't for Eric, I would have been in trouble. Bob, where were you then? Oh right, you're part of their jokes. They say I'm like a widow, ask if I have strange fetishes. They talk about how hard my life is, while secretly ready to laugh themselves silly. The once high and mighty campus queen, what's her life like now? Why am I their punchline? She stood up, walked over to the bed, and shook me hard. I'm doing everything, being a man, a woman, a mom. I change light bulbs, fix circuits, assemble furniture. I even repair the car, move heavy stuff, change windows. I can do it all now. So what use are you to me? Fiona left, and the room went quiet again. There was a faint smell of alcohol in the air, reminding me of when we first met. Her cheeks were flushed, pushed toward me by her friends. She lost in a game of truth or dare, so she had to confess to someone. In front of me, she couldn't lift her head, with a faint scent of alcohol and a flushed face. She was like a ripe peach. Our friends were cheering her on from behind. She finally lifted her head, eyes shimmering. I like you. I caught her as she tried to run away embarrassingly and said softly, me too. Her confession during a game was a secret I had kept hidden in my heart for so long. After we got together, I gave her 2 full photo albums of pictures I secretly took of her. She blushed, fluttered her eyelashes, and handed me a diary from her bag. It was filled with bits and pieces about me. She loved watching me on the basketball court. I loved the way she enthusiastically cheered in the stands. We, the campus heartthrob and beauty, were meant to be together. We became the fairy tale of our school. After graduation, we got married without a hitch and had Jimmy. Through countless days and nights, we snuggled together, dreaming of our future. She loved to add, whoever lets go first can never look back. I'd laugh and agree, all right, the one who lets go isn't forgiven. I spoiled her like a little princess. I did the chores and helped her with work. All she needed to do was call honey, and I'd hand her the sliced fruit. I gave her my all. But now, I just wish she'd help me put an end to all of this. In the morning, my son ran in, his little fist landing heavily on my stomach. Humph. Smelly daddy. Bad daddy, you made mommy cry again. I listened numbly as the pain in my chest felt like dandelions scattering softly everywhere. He said today was his 4th birthday, and he wanted to go to the amusement park with Eric. They were the real family. I knew Fiona was standing at the door. I could smell her scent. Jimmy ran off. Mom, Eric is waiting for us. Let's go. Fiona was probably looking at me. After a long silence, she finally responded. All right. I heard their footsteps fade away. Suddenly, intense pain came over me, and my fingers twitched. They must have played for a long time. By the time they returned, my stomach was already empty. Jimmy's laughter mixed with Fiona's gentle voice. Eric, Jimmy had a great time today. Thank you. Daddy, can we go again next time? Eric replied, sure, as long as you're happy, I can do anything. Nobody remembered I was still hungry. Much later, Fiona rushed into the room, hastily trying to feed me. She was too rushed, and I choked. She hurriedly patted my back, then suddenly stopped, her expression incredulous as she lifted my blanket. Bob, you... I couldn't face her, only feeling deep despair. When Jimmy hit me this morning, my stomach was already sore. With Fiona feeding me irregularly these days, I lost control. A dead silence enveloped us. Even a pin drop would be loud. Fiona unexpectedly took 2 steps back, standing by the bed, gazing at me for a long time. The stifling atmosphere made my breath shallow. Bob. Her voice was chilling, filled with deep exhaustion. Why didn't you just die in the car accident so at least we could have kept our sweet memories? There shouldn't have been any pain, but my whole being cried out in agony. Despair crushed me. My nerves trembled violently, and a suffocating feeling swept over me like drowning. After saying this, she stood stunned for a while, then hurriedly ran away. I felt something slowly trickling down from the corner of my eye, soaking my pillow. Turns out I fought to survive, but she'd rather I die. Everything's over. The room plunged into a prolonged silence. Suddenly, the door opened again. Eric walked in with Jimmy. Jimmy asked, "Daddy, will you marry Mommy?" Eric answered, "Of course." Then he leaned in close to my ear. "Bob, you might not know that crash wasn't an accident." I called Fiona with an accident story. She must have been so worried, he chuckled smugly. "What I can't have, no one else will. But this works too. Now that you're paralyzed, she'll belong to me." I was already in despair. No further provocation could hurt me. Feeling maybe it wasn't enough venting to someone unresponsive, he added more. "I've already slept with Fiona on my birthday. A heart can indeed be torn countless times." Seeing my tears didn't change his mocking laughter. "Bob, it's good you're awake. Now just lie here and witness our love." After he left, I tried moving my fingers again, managing a slight movement with all my strength. I wanted to try again. Maybe I can wake up and fix all this. The next day, surprisingly, my mom came. Her health's always been poor. Every visit was a strenuous trip. Fiona once felt sorry for her, so visits weren't frequent. Mom sat by my bed, chatting away. Towards the end, she began to choke up. "Bob, maybe I won't live to see you wake up. I've been diagnosed with cancer, it's advanced." My heart shattered, struggling to move my finger. Mom saw, excitedly calling Fiona. "Fiona?" Bob moved his finger. "He's awake." Fiona's voice came back impatient. "Mom, you're seeing things." Mom insisted, "Really, Fiona, come and see." Bob really moved, but her hopes were dashed as Fiona's voice echoed down the hallway. "Mom, it's an illusion. The doctor said he won't wake up. I'm gonna Eric's art exhibit, gotta go." Sensing Fiona's coldness, my mom didn't follow, yet she held my hand. "Bob, you're awake, right?" That day, she sat with me a long time, gently cleaning my body, feeding me, caring like when I was a kid. But Fiona never returned. My mom worried, tried calling Fiona, but there was no answer. She decided to call outside, but suddenly she fell heavily to the floor. I heard it and felt anxious beyond words. Intense willpower let me open my eyes, seeing my mom struggling for breath, her face already pale. She reached out to me, "Bob." I wanted to save her, but I couldn't get up. At that moment, Jimmy walked by the door. Mom called out to him, asking him to call 911, saying I was already awake. But I saw Jimmy shaking his head. He stepped back, his face, an eerie resemblance to mine, full of indifference. "No," Eric said, "if you wake up, I won't have a complete family anymore. I don't want a disabled dad like you." He turned and ran away. I was devastated, watching helplessly as Mom lay on the floor, coughing up blood. I don't know where I found the strength, but I fell to the ground, crawling to her with effort until I touched her phone. I didn't have the energy to find a number, so I just pressed the first one. Fiona's name scrolled on the screen, and then the call ended. In that second, something shattered completely in my chest. I was finally out of strength. Mom was just within reach. Her loving eyes looked at me, her lips moving without making a sound, but I could see she was saying, "Bob, live well." Before I passed out, I saw Fiona rushing over in a hurry, and I heard my own hoarse, broken voice. We're getting a divorce. When I woke up, I was already in the hospital. Fiona looked pleasantly surprised. Bob, you're really awake. I immediately grabbed her sleeve and asked, how's my mom? In 3 years, she hadn't changed much, still as beautiful and striking as before. Jimmy stood next to her, and when he saw me looking, he quickly hid behind Fiona. His obvious disgust didn't sadden me. I just shouted hoarsely, where's my mom? Fiona's eyes flickered with guilt and panic. Mom has already passed away. I felt like I was plunged into an icy abyss, collapsing onto the bed. I couldn't hear anything, gasping for air like a drowning fish, seeing only Mom's final gaze at me. Overcome with grief and anger, I grabbed her collar. Why didn't you answer my call? Fiona explained with difficulty. Bob, I didn't refuse to answer. You only had eyes for your lover. Her face looked visibly pained. Bob, how can you think of me this way? How could I let someone die without helping? I laughed bitterly, covering my eyes with my hand, tears seeping through my fingers. Hate me if you want, but why didn't you save my mom? She was so good to you. Jimmy rushed over. He hit my hands forcefully. You're a bad person. You made Mom mad again. The needle slipped, and blood trickled out from the needle site. I instinctively flinched and accidentally pushed him. Bob. Fiona's eyes reddened, cradling Jimmy. He's your son. You're acting like a madman. Eric strode into the room, shielding them both. Bob, are you still a man? Fiona gave 3 years of her life to you. You dragged her down. How can you treat her this way? Fiona bowed her head, biting her lip. Bob, I stayed by you for 3 years. If Eric hadn't been with me, I'd have broken down long ago. I'm a woman too. Eric looked smug, challenging me with his gaze. Jimmy peeked out from his arms, shouting angrily, you're just a cripple. You're not fit to be my dad. I looked at Fiona, who didn't stop him. After a brief silence, I spoke numbly. Let's get a divorce. I give you my blessing. Fiona froze on the spot. She seemed to want to say something, but I turned away, asking the nurse to shoo them out. With the room now quiet, I finally let myself cry openly. Later, the nurse told me it was the neighbor who saw Jimmy run out and called the police. They were the ones who informed Fiona to come home. So ironic. A stranger could show me kindness, but my wife, she took away my mom's chance to survive. Mom's funeral was scheduled for 3 days later. I couldn't stand, so I asked a nurse to take me. Fiona came by a few times, but I refused to see her. I couldn't forgive her, just like I couldn't forgive myself. Midway through the funeral, Fiona came, pulling Jimmy along, asking him to pay respects to Grandma. Jimmy refused, clinging to Fiona, crying out, I want Eric. I don't want this dad. He's ugly and crippled. I don't want him. Mom, Eric is waiting outside for us to go eat. The audience erupted into whispers, their eyes full of ridicule and pity. I remained still, quietly adjusting the blanket over Mom. Fiona approached, hesitating. Bob, I didn't teach him to say those things. Get out. Fiona's face turned pale. Beside her, seeing his mom upset, Jimmy reached out and toppled my wheelchair. I fell from it. Fiona rushed to help me, but I knocked her hand away, struggling back onto my chair, facing her pale face. Leave this place. I stammered through my words, and Jimmy, full of disdain, said, Stutterer, so stupid. Smack. I slapped him. Jimmy froze, then burst into tears in Fiona's arms. Fiona held back, saying, Why are you mad at a child? Jimmy just isn't close to you. You've been asleep for 3 years. Of course, closer to Eric, right? I looked at her coldly. Kids don't get it. Do adults not get it either? Did he come up with those words on his own? Fiona's face turned progressively paler. She opened her mouth, but seeing my knowing eyes, she hesitated. After a while, muttering, Bob, there's nothing between me and Eric. The next second, Eric walked in. He was holding Jimmy's toy. In such a serious moment, he smiled and said to Jimmy, Jimmy, guess what I bought? Jimmy immediately rushed over happily. It's Tiga. Mom, let's go eat. I don't want to stay here. I gave a self-deprecating smile and looked at Fiona's panicked and anxious face. I called security and had all three of them escorted out. Fiona struggled and shouted to me, Bob, let me bow to Mom one more time. No need. Mom only needs me. After the funeral, I reached out to my friend Mike. I had nowhere to go and could only stay at his place for the time being. Mike was my college roommate and buddy, and also a witness to my love story with Fiona. Seeing how things had unfolded, he also felt a bit sorry. I didn't have a phone, just Mom's. I texted Fiona to set a date for the divorce. Fiona called me directly. Bob, let's talk. I can explain what Mom said. I cut her off. After the divorce, Jimmy will be with you. The house is also yours, as payment for 3 years of caregiving. Fiona fell silent, her voice trembling. What do you mean? I was willingly doing it for 3 years. It doesn't matter anymore. Jimmy loves his new dad, so I wish you guys a happy family of 3. Please don't bother me again. Though you might be disappointed, I'm not dead. I'm alive. There was dead silence from the other end. Then I heard her softly weeping. It seemed like she wanted to say something, but I hung up. She didn't owe me anything. If there's anything she owes, it's not picking up that phone call. 3 years of her youth. I know what it means to a woman, so I don't intend to hate her. I had Mike help me get a new SIM card. My mom left me some money, which I used for rehab. The painful rehab every day made me forget all the messy things, and my mind completely cleared. Mike had a company, dealing with aid for the elderly, which matched my previous major. In my spare time, I helped him handle some business matters. Before I knew it, the day for the divorce arrived. Early in the morning, Mike drove me to the entrance of the Civil Affairs Bureau. I got out of the car, leaning on my crutch, and walked to the front door. Fiona was already there, her back to me, lost in thought. In the distance, there was a car parked, probably Eric's. Hearing something, she turned around. She had lost weight, her eyes had dark circles, and she looked mentally unwell. She looked at me from head to toe, staring at my crutch. Are you okay? I nodded, glanced at the time. It's open. Let's go in. I lifted my foot to go in first, but Fiona didn't follow. I looked at her suspiciously. Fiona walked over, hesitant yet anxious. Bob, the day Mom got sick, Fiona, don't force me to hate you, okay? She shuddered, her eyes widening. I turned around and looked at this face that had been my companion for 8 years. Actually, I could hear from the first year. I looked at her disbelieving eyes and continued, You brought Eric in front of me, you let Jimmy call him Dad, you celebrated birthdays with them, you whispered secrets when you were drunk. I know all of it, including your wish for me to die. Enough! She covered her ears, her face as pale as a sheet, collapsing weakly. But I don't blame you. It's normal to have doubts when faced with a beloved who might never wake up. But Fiona, we can't go back. We were separated by Eric, by Mom, by your curse. We can't go back. The day after the divorce, Mike flew with me to France, a country where romance floats in the air. Mike had a branch office here and needed a trusted person to manage it. I put my heart and soul into work. Every night, I worked until the early hours. At 5 in the morning, I got up to continue working, trying to make up for the 3 lost years and reconnect with the world. My body was recovering bit by bit. Though on countless nights, the muscle pain made it hard to sleep, I was happy. It meant my body was getting back to normal. A year later, the company's business tripled with my efforts, and performance soared every month. Mike called to congratulate me, saying that if I stayed in France for 2 years, he'd buy me a house and let me not come back. I sensed something off in his words. He hesitated, don't know if it's okay to say, but 6 months ago, Fiona married Eric. Oh, I responded, keeping my composure. Mike was suspicious. You're not mad? If Mike hadn't mentioned it, those names would have been erased from my life. I didn't love or hate Fiona anymore. I just wanted to start a new life. Mike said we'd need someone from home to expand business in France. He looked mysterious. When they arrive, you'll understand. When we met, I understood why Mike was so happy. The newcomer was my college classmate, a famous campus genius, Linda. Linda had a nickname back then, Ice Beauty. Not only was she beautiful, but her aura was unique. She seemed indifferent to men and focused solely on studying. We had crossed paths a few times. Once, I helped her with a presentation until late, and to thank me, she bought me a cup of milk tea and that was it. Years later, her aura was even more striking. I invited her to dinner. She didn't mind my leg, only discussed business seriously. After dinner, standing up, she discreetly moved her hand to support me from behind. I felt warm, touched by her thoughtfulness. Linda had just arrived in France and wasn't familiar with the area, so I offered to drive her to her place. As we got to the car, a surprised voice called out, "Bob, it's been a year since I last saw Fiona, and she seems thinner than before." Standing on the streets of France, she gave me this surreal feeling. Fiona hurried over to me, her eyes full of emotions I couldn't quite read. "I heard someone saw you in France, so I thought I'd try my luck. And here you are. Can you walk? Are you still in pain?" "I brought some medicine from home, specially requested from the old professor," she said. I frowned, stepping back. "Do you need something from me?" Sensing my awkwardness, Fiona's smile froze as her gaze shifted to Linda. "Are you Linda?" she asked. Linda nodded, extending her hand. "Nice to meet you." Fiona sized us up, and her expression soured. Awkwardly, she asked, "Why are you two having dinner together?" I replied, "I don't have to explain to you." Fiona looked up at me, her eyes suddenly red. "I flew all this way to find you, and this is all you have to say to me?" I couldn't understand what she meant. We were divorced, she was married. Why was she looking for me? As a gentleman would, I advised, "It's getting dark. You should head back. It's not as safe here as it is at home." A glimmer of happiness appeared in her eyes. "I knew you still cared." I paused, surprised. She shoved a bag into my hand. "Take the medicine as directed. I'll come find you tomorrow." With that, she waved and ran off before I could respond. I looked down at the bag of medicine, noticing Linda eyeing me curiously. Confused, I glanced over. She cleared her throat awkwardly and asked, "Bob, do you still have feelings for her?" I chuckled and shook my head. "No, of course not." She made no sound, then grabbed the bag from my hand and tossed it into the trash. "Well, I'll take care of this junk for you from now on." Somehow, Fiona got a hold of my phone number. She called every day without fail to say good morning, afternoon, and night. Sometimes she appeared outside my office with food she made. I wasn't sure what she was up to. Every time I asked her to take it back, but she persisted. I had so many clients calling, I had to block her, but she kept changing numbers. Once, after a factory tour with a client, I saw her waving at me happily from a distance. That time I was really annoyed. I've always been able to keep work and personal matters separate. When I confronted her, she seemed almost hurt, handing me a knee brace she'd sewn. "I sewed this myself with padding and herbs. The weather's changing and I don't want your leg to hurt," she explained. I looked at her coldly. "Fiona, you're married. Or do you enjoy sneaking around? With Eric with me?" Her face went white. "No, Bob, it's not like that. I'd never think of you, I'd never see you like that." "Then what do you want?" She was speechless, like she herself didn't even know. Linda called for me from afar. As I turned to go, Fiona grabbed my arm. "Are you with Linda?" I pulled my hand away, annoyed. "We're just colleagues. Anyway, I'm going to get married eventually. None of this concerns you." She wavered like a leaf in the wind. "You know she has feelings for you, don't you?" I laughed in disbelief. "Fiona, there's more to this world than just love. Don't view everything through your narrow lens. Okay?" I walked away, ignoring her. "She had a crush on you in college, didn't you know? She even wrote you a love letter." Fiona's voice made me pause, but I kept walking. That night, Linda was still working hard. I was distracted, replaying Fiona's words in my head. Did Linda really have a crush on me? A love letter? While I was lost in thought, Linda placed a hot cup of coffee in front of me, with her usual cool demeanor. "Take a break. You've been on your feet all day, your leg might start hurting." I suddenly remembered how caring Linda had been these past weeks, under her cool exterior. She took care of a lot of fieldwork for me, eased my workload, handled tough clients, and always arrived before me with a hot coffee. The room was always a comfortable temperature with the chair perfectly adjusted. Linda's ears turned red under my lingering gaze. I paused, my heart unexpectedly fluttering. The next day, it indeed started raining. The ache rolled in right on cue, and I sighed silently, rubbing my painful joints. Just as I reached for painkillers, my phone rang. It was an unfamiliar number. I hesitated, then picked up. Bob, it's raining. Maybe don't go into the office today? Could you tell me your address? I made some bone broth. I was caught off guard. A mix of frustration and helplessness. Fiona, why are you still here? Why haven't you gone back home? The line was silent for a while. Just as I was about to hang up, her voice came, choked with emotion. You're still mad at me, aren't you? Rubbing my forehead, I replied, I'm not mad at you, but I don't love you anymore, Fiona. You're married. You are mad. Mad at me for being with Eric, for cursing you, for not answering Mom's call. Bob, I know I was wrong, but it was 3 years I was lost. I needed someone to lean on. It wasn't me who hung up on your mom. It was Eric. I cut her off sharply. My mom was off limits. Enough. I don't want to hear it. Fiona sobbed. Can people never be forgiven for making one mistake? I did cheat and I regret it. Every day married to Eric, I regret it. I don't love him. I just saw him as a lifeline. I hung up the phone and blocked her again. I don't want to hear her late apologies. Whether they're doing good or not has nothing to do with me anymore. I tidied up a bit, but still headed downstairs. As I stepped out, there was Linda standing there with an umbrella. She silently handed it to me, then bent down to strap a heavy knee brace on my leg. When she finished, she gave me a hand warmer and said, I'll get the car. Wait for me. She's always been like that, quiet, letting her actions speak for her. I watched her shielding her head from the rain, and in that moment, a surge of emotion hit my chest. I ran out after her, covering her with the umbrella. Let me drive, I smiled at her. Let me be the gentleman for once. Linda was taken aback, and her surprised look was kinda cute. I pulled the car up in front of her and opened the door. Ladies first, I said. She stood there, slightly dazed, as a wave of warmth crept up from her ear to her cheek. In that second, I knew I was done for. I thought after that day, Fiona would realize and stop bothering me, but I was too optimistic. She posed as a client and asked to meet up. At the cafe, she looked haggard. Facing my cold questioning, she laughed bitterly. Bob, I know he told you everything. Yes, it was his call the day of the accident. He said he got into a crash and I rushed out in a panic, leading to the accident. Later, I found out he only sprained his leg. I know he bullied you while you were unconscious. I let Jimmy call him Dad because Jimmy said kids at daycare laughed at him for not having a dad. I gave in to temptation and got with him because I needed someone. The nights were so long, and you seemed like you'd never wake up. I didn't know how long I'd have to wait. Sometimes I'd clean you up and wonder, is the skinny man my Bob? Is your soul really in there? I listened quietly, feeling nothing. Fiona, I interrupted her. I said I don't blame you, but we can't go back. Why can't we? She stood up, shaking out the contents of her bag. Our photos, anniversary pictures of the three of us, gifts I'd bought her, good luck charms we sought together. They spilled out. How can you be so heartless? You left all our memories behind and just left me there. We've been together 8 years. I don't believe you don't love me anymore. She reached for me, but a hand smacked hers away. Linda stepped between us, a bit out of breath, clearly having rushed. I checked the client info and felt something was off, so I came. Are you okay? I shook my head and smiled gently at her. I'm fine. Fiona broke down suddenly. You said you were just colleagues? You clearly like her. Lover's eyes don't lie, Bob. You're cheating. Falling for another woman. People around us started looking over, some even pulling out their phones to record. Just as I was about to explain to avoid affecting the company's future reputation, it was Linda who spoke first. It's me who likes him. I'm pursuing him. Fiona, you and Bob are already divorced, and you were the one who cheated first. I'm not as forgiving as Bob. If you continue to slander him, I'll sue you." Fiona froze, and she looked at me, maybe hoping I'd help her. But I just looked at Linda. "Thank you, Linda. I'll handle the rest." Linda blushed and quietly stepped back behind me. I turned to Fiona. "Fiona, I exchanged 3 years of being bedridden for your life in that car accident. You paid me back with 3 years of your life. We owe each other nothing now. Let's not meet again. If you continue to pester—" I gently held Linda's hand. "My girlfriend doesn't tolerate much. I might not be able to stop her." Linda's hand went from soft to tense, then back to soft. She carefully held mine, her voice cool and composed. "Fiona, I've got your ticket booked for tomorrow. As far as I know, you've already overstayed your welcome. Don't make me use legal means to send you back." Fiona's eyes widened at us, tears suddenly flowing down. She went hysterical, crying one moment and laughing the next, finally collapsing to the ground, muttering softly, "Why can't I get another chance?" In the end, it was Linda who sent Fiona away. In the car, she faced my questions, her face red yet staying calm. "Remember that year you pulled a girl out of the North Campus pond? You were afraid she'd catch cold, gave her your clothes, and stayed with her until her friends came. You said a lot, like drink ginger water and get a blood test." Her face got redder and she finally covered her face with a hand, voice humming. "That girl was me. You were so nice, gentle, bright, considerate. I was just a step too late, and Fiona found my love letter and threw it into the trash. After that, I kept my feelings buried, watched you get married, heard about your accident from friends. I wanted to visit but didn't know what kind of excuse to use. I'm sorry, I was too cowardly." I grabbed her hand with a smile. "No, see, you've helped me deal with such a huge mess. Linda, you're amazing." Her smile cracked and tears fell. "I finally did it. You were my dream, my unreachable moon. I finally brought my moon down." Suddenly she looked up. A plane flew by high above. This plane would take Fiona and the 8 years of our past out of my life. And I was about to start anew. 1 year later, I heard from Mike that Fiona reported Eric for art plagiarism. And Eric, enraged, stabbed her. Jimmy was sent to live with his grandma. Eric had raised him to be arrogant and vain. He even hit his grandparents. After being expelled from several preschools, he was kept at home and not allowed to go out. His future seemed bleak. The first year after Linda and I got married, we went back home to visit my mom's grave. From a distance, I saw a woman standing there, hunched over and skinny as a twig. When she heard us, she looked up and, upon seeing us, quickly ran away. Linda and I exchanged a glance, both guessing who she was. But we didn't say a word, just shared a faint smile. I knew that Linda had secretly sent money to Fiona. That's just who she is. Reserved on the outside, but really kind-hearted. As my wife, she didn't want to see my ex-wife suffering too much. Happiness was right in front of us, and the past was best left behind.